It's my understanding that Brandon Garrison, when it became available, when it became real that he is willing to commit right now, 3 years left on of eligibility remaining. Kind of one of those guys that has a really, really high ceiling. He's, I think he's been mischaracterized as a project big. I think he, not maybe as high of a floor as obviously a great Osibor, but he's still a guy that produced at a really high level in the Big 12, as we talked about, when that's why they wanted to kind of zero in on him and sign him. But he is more of the, okay, we can bank on him being more of a foundational piece long term, where he's probably not going to be ready to go pro after a year, while still saying, great Osibor, if you're ready to come, we'll take you whenever, we'll still pursue you. So you get 3 bigs that are capable of playing and should get some minutes, but I don't think that those 2 things are exclusive of one another. I don't think that by signing Brandon Garrison, it completely takes Great Osibor out. Now, on Great's side, I think he now has to look at this and say, okay, well, they have 3 bigs. I'm going to be competing. He's better than them. He is the best of the group. So I don't think that he's going in with that mindset. I think he knows that he would play above them. And I think that was part on Brandon's side of, I'm going to have to come in and compete for my minutes. So I don't think it puts Kentucky in an unbelievable spot. Again, he's an expensive kid with NIL and just what it's going to cost to add some of this other star talent. Kobe Brea is visiting right now. Kentucky is in prime position to land his commitment. He comes at a premium cost as the best shooter in the portal right now. So it comes down to cost and kind of managing your budget of what you can afford. And Great Osibor is a superstar quality premium product. What does that mean for a Jackson Robinson, who is also a premium product as the Big 12 sixth man of the year? And you still have to go land a point guard. You still have to have a primary facilitator, playmaker, guy who's going to put your team in winning position beyond just Lamont Butler. You still have some pieces to add. Are you going to load up entirely on the front court and kind of leave you a little bit thin financially in the backcourt? I think that's something that Kentucky is navigating right now, where they knew that Brandon Garrison was available today, and they didn't want to risk passing on him, knowing that there was a chance that in 2 weeks, when Great Osibor is ready to commit, that he doesn't end up coming to Kentucky, and then you're missing out on Brandon Garrison too. So it was a really tricky spot to be in, 1 in the hand, 2 in the bush type of deal for Mark Pope, that I think he sat down and said, Brandon Garrison is good enough to be an impact player for us. At some point, we can't pass on this. At minimum, we have 3 front court pieces that can come in and contribute. I'm willing to take that risk. I know some fans will disagree with it, and I get there's some skepticism because you do need some star power. But I can see the vision there with what Pope's thinking, Sean.
I can too, and I mean, obviously, when it came across this morning, I was kind of surprised by the timing of it and things. But Brandon Garrison fits what you're looking for. We're talking about a guy that's done it in a major conference, in the Big 12, and when you turn on the tape, you see the things that I was talking about a moment ago: the physicality, the ability to play at the rim. He has some shot blocking to his game. He can pass the basketball, like nothing from the 3-point line and things like that. But overall, I like the addition of it. And he had one of his biggest games of the year against Mark Pope and BYU. Scored 21 points, I believe, maybe 5 rebounds, a couple of steals in that game, a block shot. So that goes back to what I was saying a moment ago. Mark Pope has evaluated these guys and game planned and scouted against them and put a personnel scout against these guys multiple times. When you see them up close, it's a difference in recruiting high school talent and talent that you've coached against in college basketball in a major conference, Jack, because these guys have beaten you. These guys have gone up against you and had success against you. And I think that gives Pope and the staff both some comfort in knowing, okay, I know this guy can handle what we're going to do here. I know this guy has had success. I've seen it up against me. And I think that that's why you kind of some of these moves being made, especially with guys coming from the Big 12 over to Kentucky, and then, former guys that they've been in on at BYU and such. So I think some familiarity there is probably the biggest reason, but his upside, so much potential to his game, still a lot of eligibility left. Could be a major get if he comes to Kentucky and settles in the way that a lot of people expect him to, Jack, and could be a long-term piece in this program and have a lot of success.
Let's touch a little bit more on that too, because the 3 years thing I think was a really, really big selling point on Mark Pope's side, where You get a guy that it isn't just a fifth-year grad transfer that like great Osabor is, that Amari Williams is, that Andrew Carr is. That's a premium in itself in terms of leadership and experience. But you also want a guy that you can feel pretty darn confident is going to stick around for a couple years because, again, he's a McDonald's All-American, so he has the untapped potential. But he's also not a guy that's just in a rush to get the heck out of there and go pro. He did not put his name in the early entrant list that just came out today, where we can talk about that in a second too. Andrew Carr is on that list. Great Osabor is on that list. Lamont Butler's on that list. Who else? Amari Williams is also on that list as well. You get a guy that knows who he is, where he is in his development, and he's going to be confident kind of waiting to find his – by coming to Kentucky – Sean, rather than going to Oklahoma, I just got off the phone with his coach. It came down to Oklahoma. Arkansas was pretty iffy about that one. Texas was pretty iffy about that. It's my understanding that it came down to Oklahoma in Kentucky from what his coach said. And he would have been able to go to Oklahoma and play a ton of minutes, be the guy from day one. And this is a guy that started 29 games this past season at Oklahoma State. So he is signing on to play Kentucky knowing that it's going to be a loaded front court. He's kind of signing on for the long-term approach with this, where there's no way that he's expecting to come in and be the guy, to be what great Osabor would be. And, if you get Jackson Robinson at the guard position and, if you get a ball-dominant point guard, those are going to be the main dudes. He is going to be 5th, 6th, 7th type of option, which is a great thing for us. But it's also taking a risk on himself and saying, you know what, I'm comfortable in knowing that Mark Pope's going to develop me into the McDonald's All-American caliber talent that I came in to be. So I think that was a really big part of the pitch as well, Sean, that you're taking a risk. You're taking a chance on him as a long-term piece that, Otega Owe has 2 years of eligibility as well. You're bringing in some of these guys, Travis Perry, Colin Chandler, that are going to stick around for a couple of years. You can't just load up on fifth-year guys knowing that at the end of the year you have to hit reset completely. So this is a long-term play by Mark Pope as well.